So I had a dream that begins in a genocidal camp, a concentration camp out in one of two countries, and uh, this country happens to be poor, um, and it's run like a dictatorship, like a kingdom, uh, and there's this family, a mother, her son, and her husband, who are laying track um, in the concentration camp, and the railroad track that they're laying is for um, human smuggling and things like that, and drug smuggling. And they decide to escape the camp, but they don't really know anything else about the world, but they've heard of this city called the City of Aers. And so they uh, they travel across the like farmlands where there's other people who are enslaved and in the kingdom, and they travel along the tracks to where they come to a city that's a lot like a mix between the Riverwalk and San Antonio, except with a much wider river, bigger restaurants, deeper river, uh, longer, and it's got more twists and turns in it, and it goes like up hills and down hills, and it's like a mix between the Riverwalk and St. Louis, where there's like a gigantic like baseball stadium, and the baseball stadium is like where like anyway they want to sneak into this baseball stadium, and so they talk to the homeless people who live on the outskirts of this dystopian city that's like a mix between San Antonio and St. Louis, and they uh, go down into these sewage tunnels where the track leads, which they lost track of, like the track, not to be ironic, and and so these homeless people who are getting paid like pennies on the dollar, the they're not really homeless, they're like a nomadic like population that like they built the city over like their cities or their culture. And so they uh but it's been like 30, 40, 100 years plus years that they've done this, but so their population has been like trying to like learn how to adapt to the city environment, and they have even though they've been like denied education and weaponry and things like that and technology, they have learned hacks to kind of beat the system. And so they learn what's called train hopping, and but it's a little different than what you would see like in as far as train hopping in like modern day or like in like the like early like 1900s in America. It was more like this is like a space age train. So it's like a bullet train, but it goes pretty much faster, and it um so it can travel like really long distances like across planet. And because this is on a different planet than Earth. And the bullet train leads to the city of Aers, and they are plan on getting tickets onto this train, but first they want to take their son to a baseball game. And the uh, train that they so anyways they lose track of the father because he gets in trouble with like the law, because he's helping these like nomadic people to do some of these hacks which are illegal. And they're really they're under pressure. And so what these hacks are is like finding like ways to like train hop, which is this bullet train like system of rails, which is really complex in the city, and uses the city's basic infrastructure that was engineered like hundreds of years ago. And it's like got razors that spin, and gears that are like the inside of a clock and stuff. And they have to wear these specialized suits and like slide through different areas, kind of like on Dune, how they wear like the special suits, but for like living in desert populations. But they're just using like the sewage tunnels and the basic infrastructure that runs like a giant clock system, and they have to like hack through this system to basically sabotage the city efforts that are like discriminating against these nomadic people. And so the family really feels for them, and so the father goes to help them with a mission because he knows some skills in like engineering that he learned back in the concentration camp. So as he's like going so anyway, they have to evade the guards and everything. They finish the mission, and then the mom and the son don't know where he is, and they end up, because he hasn't returned on time to the meeting place, so they go into the bullet train with the tickets, and they go to the city of Aers and through the rest of the farmland outside the city again. And they, into the richer and richer neighborhoods through like the class systems. And they, the whole time, like, there's like these guards on the train who are like looking for the dad. And he, but anyways, so like, he, this dad, is like train hopping all the way from the city to the city of Aers, from this city, to the city of Aers. And so, which is the capital city, the city of Aers. And that's where this council of Aers sits, or the council that's overruling the entire planetary system, which runs on this mechanism that people have forgotten about, that is this really reinforced structure that's like a clock, which the whole planet is basically a giant clock. And so, it's running on like GPS satellites that nobody even knows exist anymore, except the people who are like telling the council what to do. And so, um, and the people who are just working on different pieces of this, and they don't know that that they're all working on the same system. And so, the council heads like the bureaucracy of like the legal system and like the policies that are instituted to control the system. And so they don't realize the human labor that's being put into this and the level of genocide that's being created when they sign a bill or a law into place. And so the dad like is like hopping through, he's working with this team of like nomads to get to the city of Aers to speak to the council on their behalf, as well as the behalf of the people who are being genocided. So to make them aware of what's going on. So the dad, so some of these people, like these young guys who are like in these suits train hopping, like they end up dying, like some of them like getting caught in like the gears or in the razor blades or whatever. And the dad goes off and sees like some of the like the actual internal center of the system, and he realizes that this has like an energy source that could save everyone. And so he goes to the city of Aers. He meets up with the mom and dad and the son, who incidentally meet up with the council because they run into some trouble themselves, and they meet somebody who's influential by accident, like a little girl who's the daughter of one of the council members. And so they have influence over the council. And so this city is like Atlantic City, but it's like designed in such a way that it's like Coruscant, but with Art Deco designs, kind of like The Great Gatsby. And so it's like a big casino hub, and it's where the ritzy rich people live. And the ritzy rich people don't really care, and they kind of snuff their nose up about everybody else on the planet. And so they don't care about the rest of the planet. But the council, there are people on the council who do. And one of the big ones who do is this girl's father. And this girl pretends to be like an orphan living in the streets of like the outskirts of this city of Aers. And so she befriends like some of these like nomadic people. And she or at least she plays with them, but they don't know who she is. And so they end up going and meeting the council at the same time as the dad, and then they speak up for the dad, and then they all like come together and they develop a plan to create legislature in the bureaucracy to create policy that essentially uses the energy source for what it was originally intended to be eventually used for when the system was finally built, which is now coming into fruition. And so then they stop the genocide, they create a reservation cities and bring back the lands for the nomadic people, and they bring them into harmony with these richer people in the cities, And so then the city of Aers isn't just about the council and the city itself. They actually start caring about the rest of the planet. And then, they all become like representatives for the new council that's created that includes these other groups rather than one single racial group. And so, yeah. So the dystopia turns into an actual utopia. And, yeah, so that was the dream that I had. And, yeah, it was kind of interesting. But, yeah.